Welcome to Bible Study with Fred. Let's have a Bible study on Proverbs 28, verse 4. They that forsake the law, this is referring to the law given to Moses, praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with it. Now, Psalm 12:8 says, the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. Of course, the law being talked about here is the law of God given to Moses, as I said. We remember that 1 John 3:4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. And people who like to sin, who live by it, whose very character is defined by it, not only want the freedom to do it, but take great pleasure in being confirmed in their obsessions by other people doing the same. Romans 1:32. Who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. However, we're not justified since Christ's resurrection in the beginning of the church age by keeping the law. Galatians 3:24. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith. Verse 25. But after that faith has come, we are no longer under a schoolmaster. But as under the law in ancient Israel, men who did wrong according to the law were in constant conflict with those who followed the law. So today, there is a spiritual and sometimes political war going on between those who follow Christ and seek to obey him in their human frailty, and those who worship their own lusts and desire to sin. There will always be a conflict between those two groups as long as there is faith on the earth. Those people in our country, for instance, who seek to ignore God, make the country God neutral, so to speak, or simply flaunt their contempt for his word and his people, will always have constant conflict with the people who worship God. As the godless get more and more powerful and faith gets more and more watered down, with less of a dependence on God's word and more of a dependence on the opinions of, the agendas of, and the fear of men in pulpits across the land, the people in the congregation, the godless will take their vengeance on God's people. Tribulation and martyrdom are the natural and eventual outcomes for the people of God in that situation. As government had afforded citizens a constitutional right at one time, which is only recently overturned, to murder their unborn children for the purpose of simply another type of birth control, as sexual perversion of all kinds becomes normalized and more accepted, as non-Christian religions and ideals become preeminent, as more and more of mainstream Christianity moves from the supernatural power of God's word to the weakness of a fluid civil religion, as a constant state of warfare becomes necessary to support the globalist one world agenda, and as wealth becomes gathered in fewer and fewer hands, and the middle class is erased with one group owning the wealth and the other needing government help just to survive as they work for faceless corporations or government itself, the spiritual and political war will become more intense. In America, this began with Christians looking more and more to government as God's agent on earth, and then eventually as a replacement for God, until their faith lost its salt and became as tasteless as the white of an egg. There will come a time, and is already here, where people who actually believe the Bible will be marginalized, looked at as fruitcakes, in the way of progress and unpatriotic, unworthy to be parents, to hold a good paying job, to serve in government, the armed forces, and eventually will be driven back to the days of the early church to worship in private homes under peril of being arrested. There will always be conflict in the public and private spheres of life between those who forsake God and those who keep his word. Amos 3:3 says, can two walk together except they be agreed? 2 Corinthians 6:14 through 18 says, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? And what concord hath Christ with Belial? Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel, or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God, as God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. And I will be a father unto you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. So the civil war has been going on since the tragedy of the Garden of Eden. It will not end until we enter eternity and God is acknowledged for what he is, Lord of all. Now, I'm going to stop there and pick it up in verse 5 next. So I'm asking you today as I always do, because it's very important. I mean, it can't be more stressed more. Open the Bible today and let God speak to you through His Word. Just read it. Just read a couple of verses or a chapter, a couple of chapters, and let God speak to you. Let Him talk to your heart. Now, I'm not saying He's going to talk in a physical, a visual, a voice that you're going to hear in your head, but that He's going to change you. He's going to do things to you, draw you closer to Him, and then also at a separate time. Study the Bible, cross-reference the verses. Very important there. In both of those situations, you want to first pray for wisdom and understanding. Now, when you get an interpretation, when you have something that God has given you, share it with somebody near you or online. And now, you can purchase my comments on Amazon. Of course, I hope you do that. You can read them on blogger.com, and I'll post the links below. But if you've watched this video this far, would you please click like and subscribe or follow and share the video with someone else? And I look forward to your comments, whether you agree or disagree, have something to add, maybe a different interpretation, maybe you see something differently about this proverb. All right. Thank you.